So I'm not real sure what I'm going to say on my introduction either. No, seriously, Tom has been with us since mid-year of 2006. He is a wonderful, wonderful asset to SEFA and to our SEFA members and suppliers. When we look back, and we do this periodically, I'm sure all of you do too, and you think of the blessings that you've been given, and you think of the people you know, the friends you've made, the relationships you've built, and just the true joy you have in your life, the first thing that comes up are people that are important to you. And very seldom, if ever, does the time go by when Tom is not on that list. I hope I can say that again at your presentation today, Tom. But without further ado, Mr. Tom Stritch.
Thanks, Teddy. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
The key about throwing your job at risk, because I think I am about to do that, is I have a lot of people to interview with. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tom Stritch. I'm glad you're here, and I'm very excited to share the story behind Keep the Fork with you. I know many of you have flown in today, and you're probably, whether it be a little tired or be a little stretched, so I'm going to ask you to just humor me for just a moment. And if you would, please stand up. All right, if you would, take one step to your left. That's it. And to your other left. All right. Take one step back to your right. Should end up about where you were. Okay? If you would, put your hand over your heart. Or it'd be right around here if you had it. Okay? All right. Now you can hold off on that. You can see it's not going to be an easy grab. The next thing, you can take your hands off your heart, but stay standing. The next thing I'd like to announce is that today is Teddy Reed's 29th birthday again. We don't have time for the entire happy birthday song right now. But on the count of 3, if you would join me in just shouting out, "Happy birthday, Teddy." All right? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Teddy! All right. Have a seat. Now, if you're wondering what that was all about, that was insurance for me. Because if nothing else in this presentation gets you excited, you will leave here now being able to say that this presentation was uplifting, it was moving, it was heartfelt. My God, it is pretty fast. Like that. Like that. A couple of things as we get started with this presentation is I would like all of us to realize that we've come from all different parts of the country. One of the phenomenal things about the SEFA membership is that we are so diverse. So we have people from different parts of the country, people from different types of dealerships. We have people who are here who are not with SEFA memberships, and we thank you for coming. And we have people who do different things within those dealerships. So that being said, not everything I cover will be applicable for everyone. So I'm going to ask you to look for things as we go that are applicable to you. And when you find them, I'm going to encourage you to write them down. Because you're going to find this is a pretty fast-moving presentation. Okay? And if you see something that says, wow, that makes sense. I like that. That would work for me. Write it down. Because if you don't, I'm going to be gone. The next thing, as we get going, is I would like to publicly announce and admit that everything to follow has been plagiarized by somebody, including and especially my mom. Hi, Mom. This was my mom. Thanksgiving Day. Amazing lady. She was 83 years old when she passed. So there's a couple of things that I would like you to know about my mom. My mom had a massive stroke. She was paralyzed on the entire left side of her body for 43 years. And she was left-handed to boot. So she had no use of her left arm or her left leg. Before she became paralyzed, being Catholic, her and my dad thought it was a good idea to breed out 6 kids. Right? We had dinner on the table every night. Every night. Now, we grew up in New York. Dad had an hour-and-a-half commute each way to work, and he worked 8, 10, 12 hours a day. So it wasn't Dad cooking dinner. Somehow, she got dinner on the table every night. She got laundry done. I can't speak for you, but Carrie, my wife, and I, we have 2 kids left at home. Saturday afternoon, we look around, the pile of laundry is like this high, right? Like we know we own that many clothes in the house. And yet my mom managed to get the laundry done. She had the homework checked from all of us. I'm not done bragging about my mom. Here's where it gets deep. She never had a day of self-pity. 1 arm, 1 leg, 6 kids, no help. Never a day of self-pity. I have self-pity if I'm on the 405 in LA. Okay? If I get caught on the C terminal in the Detroit airport, who's from Detroit? Anybody from Detroit? Am I right? C terminal. Self-pity, right? Horrible. My mom dealt this kind of a deck, never a day of self-pity. She was always positive. She always looked for what was right with everything and everyone. And she expected life to always just get better. And what she did was she would keep the fort. And some of you, hopefully right now, are saying, what is the story behind the keep the fort? So here's the story. And this is not my mom's story. So this is where the plagiarism begins. It started with her, okay? But there was an elderly woman who was terminally ill. She had 3 months to live. And this does get more uplifting than this, by the way. But this woman had 3 months to live, and she called her pastor, and she said, I would like you to come by, and I want to put my final things in order. Got it? On the way. And they discussed what songs she wanted sang, what scripture she wanted read, what pictures of her late husband and her children that she wanted out, and what dress she wanted to be seen. And he says, you got it. And she said, and there's one more thing. He said, what's that? She said, I'd like to be buried with a fork in my right hand. Looking a little perplexed. He says, I'm not sure I follow that. And she said, Pastor, I have been coming to church functions and community socials all my life. And we have these wonderful dinners. And at the end of dinner, notoriously, somebody comes to clear my plate. And when they do, they will say, keep the fork. And she goes, I know right then that the best is yet to come. Because I don't know whether it's a decadent piece of chocolate cake, or tangy meringue pie, or a smoothie cheesecake. I just know that the best is yet to come. And he looks at her and he says, still not following. She says, I want to be buried with that in my right hand because I want to make sure that anybody who sees me in my casket knows that my faith is strong enough that I know that for me, the best is yet to come. And I want to make sure that there are no tears of sorrow at my funeral, that there are only tears of joy, because I know where I'm going. And my mom loved that story. And she put her own spin on it. She would say to me, Tommy, and we'll cover that now. Most of you know me as Tom, right? My mom called me Tommy, so you'll hear that a few times. But she would say, Tommy, keeping the fork isn't about only when you leave this life. It's all through this life. That you can always, no matter where you are in life, expect that life will indeed get better. It doesn't matter, she said, if you're up on a peak and everything you touch is turned to gold. You find the woman of your dreams and you're so happy, you think, no matter what, this is it, you're loving life. Life can still get better. And she said, there's going to be times when you're down here in the valley and everything seems to be crumbling around you. You feel like you're swimming through manure. And you're finding yourself saying, God, why? What did I do? Why me? She says, if you do the right thing, life will definitely get better for you. But you have to do the right things. And she said, essentially, you have to earn the right to keep the fork. You have to understand that life isn't just going to get better for you. You can't just sit there on the couch and, gee, I hope life is going to get better. Right? She said, your ship isn't necessarily going to come in. You can't wait on somebody to come by and get you excited and get you moving in life. You can't just sit there on the couch. She said, what if your ship doesn't make it into port? What if the guy who's supposed to motivate you doesn't show up? You have to do the things that are necessary to earn the right to deserve that life will indeed get better for you, no matter where you're at. That make sense? Did to me. So what are some of the things that she taught me that we have to do if, no matter where we are in our lives, that we can earn the right to expect that life will get better? Well, the first thing she said is you have to have energy, right? Nothing great in life has ever been accomplished without enthusiasm. What are the last four letters of enthusiasm? I can see some people saying, how do you spell that? IASM, right? I am sold myself. She said, you have to have energy. You have to be your own individual power plant. You can't wait on somebody else to come by and get you going. Because one thing about God is He will always make sure that there are opportunities all around you. But here's the thing. He's got a real weird sense of humor. Okay? And He disguises opportunities virtually all the time as hard work. Always going to be disguised as hard work. If it's really worthwhile, it's not going to be easy. So you will find that as I go through, I like to explain things kind of on the low level, and I like to bring it close to home. So I'll tell you a story about somebody I know. Her name is Alex. She's my daughter. And this story is a year old because it was last year she was in 7th grade, middle school. And she wanted to run cross country. But the middle school didn't have a cross country team. So she did what any 7th grader would do, was she picked up the phone and called the coach at the high school. I thought, really? And she said, Coach, I'd like to run on your cross country team. He said, you're in 7th grade. Now, in fairness, she knew him because her brother ran on the varsity cross country team. She calls up the coach. He says, you're in 7th grade. She says, I know, but I think I'm pretty good. He says, well, you can try out. So we let her try out. This is a picture at the end of my daughter's first race. Now, if you're wondering, wow, is it me or does she look miserable? My God, she looks miserable, all right? That's the picture. That's it. Could that not have been the cover for the movie Misery with Kathy Bates right there? Okay? Oh my God, this was a horrible move. Daddy, this has to get better. Well, I don't care if you're a 7th grader trying to run with 11th and 12th graders, or if you're 52 or 92, whatever it is that we tackle in life, when it's hard, we have to ask ourselves the question, is it worth it? Do we want to pay the price to earn the right to expect that this will get better? So what do you have to do? Well, the same as us as adults. If you want to be a better cook, cook more, right? If you want to be a better presenter, present more, whatever the case may be. So she had to practice and practice and practice and keep asking herself, is it worth it? And keep going. And by the end of the season, not only did she make the JV team, but she made the varsity team as a 7th grader and got invited to the state championships. Did she win? No. But she beat 2 people she'd never beaten before. She got a PR, which in cross-country language, if you know that language, means personal record. And what was the real big thing she got? Other than a hug from Daddy, I had to throw that in there. She had an unbelievable feeling of accomplishment. Because was it easy? No. Did she want to give up at times? Yes. Did she? No. Is there any real difference between us and her when we're faced with some things in life? What was the difference? That, by the way, was her grit picture at the end. All right? A little bit different. So what was the difference between Captain Misery here, right, and getting to this point? It's the same thing that will drive us. It was energy. It was excitement. And yes, it was hard work. So you may be saying to yourself, Tom, cute story about your kid, but you know what? I'm not that upbeat kind of person like you are, and you know, that whole energy thing isn't me, I don't have it. And thinking that there might be 1 or 2 people who would say that, I have put together for you 5 steps for building your own energy or your own power plant. And I can promise you that if you adopt these 5 steps, wherever your energy level is in life today, it'll go up. First thing is grab the book by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. Dr. Peale is no longer with us, but his ideas are timeless. Amazing book, an easy read. When you get done with that, you can grab Enthusiasm Makes the Difference by the same author, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. Don't read them, devour them. And they're easy reads. In about the same amount of time, we can watch a reality show or a really negative news event. We can read one of these books. The next thing, if you really want to build your enthusiasm or your level of excitement, is you have to use children. And I suggest that you grab a child and ask them what they want to do, and then go do it. And some of you, I can see, are thinking to yourselves, well, gee, Tom, I'm not sitting here with 4 kids and 2 grandkids. Like you, I don't have any kids. There's no excuses once the door closed. So if you don't have any kids, go borrow. Right? A neighbor, a brother, a sister-in-law, something. Go take their kid. Now here's my disclaimer. That's right. Let the parents know you're taking the kid, right? No Amber Alerts on account of Stritch up here, right? But go grab a kid and ask them what they want to do and then go do it. So once again, a little story close to home for me was I had my older son his wife, and my 2 wonderful grandchildren over the house one Saturday afternoon, and this is actually not that long ago, about a month ago. This is outside my home, and my 6-year-old granddaughter, I went up to her and I asked her, because as a successful person I know that you never ask a question that you don't know the answer to, right? So I said, Zoe, what do you want to do today? Knowing that she'd say, Grandpa, I want to cook on the grill with you, because she likes to take the long tongs and flip the stuff. She said, Grandpa, I want to go slip and slide. I said, well, we can't go slip and sliding because Grandpa doesn't have any slip and slide. Grandpa, that's not like you. You always say we can. Grandpa, you never say we can't. I'm thinking 6 years old using my attitude stuff on me. That's some crap right there, right? Why? So off to Costco we go, and guess how much 2 slip and slides cost? $9.99. So, and over here, I don't know if you can see it, but I got one of those like gallon bottles of like Dawn detergent, right? Guess how much that cost?
$8.
$9.99. Just a little side note here, but you ever notice that in Costco? So I said, $9.99. Go over and ground beef, $9. Bag of pork chops, $9. Gatorade, $9. That's a heck of a job, isn't it? Pricing stuff at Costco? $9. So I go out and I get this. And keeping in mind that me being a research nut understands that children smile an average of 400 times per day. And adults smile 25 times per day. Personally, I don't find that fair. Right? So if we want to build our level of excitement, maybe we can't do the same things kids do, but by golly, we can get excited with them. So I'm going to play a short video here. You will not see me in this video, but you will hear me.
Okay, Grandpa has officially put Ajax and Dawn all over their actual body. On 3, 1, 2, 3. And here they come, completely soaked up. Yes! Yes! Way to go!
Who's more excited, Grandpa or them? Right? This isn't about them having a good time. I said this would build your level of enthusiasm. Right? That's not my problem. You see, Thomas Edison once said that the true genius of life is to carry the magic and the excitement of childhood into old age. So me, I went to the University of Florida and said, hey, what can you guys do for me? I'd like to reverse this process. They said, I think you may need an Ivy League school. Okay, didn't work out. So, what's the next thing we can do to build our level of energy? It's give back. Studies have shown that there's no greater feelings that people have than when we're helping someone who is less fortunate than we are. And there are many ways to do that. Can you use money? Absolutely. Are there many other ways of projects that you can get involved in? Absolutely. Random acts of kindness. But here's one I'd kind of like to share with everybody. This here is birthday girl. Looks like she got a birthday outfit, right? This is her husband, Jim, 4 feet taller than her. This lady here is our Lower Southern. They are at a groundbreaking for a family multiplex, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, in one of the worst areas of Chicago called Garfield Park. And they raised the money, not a lot, $15 million with an M. Took years and years and years to do. Hard work, right? Might have had some energy and excitement behind that. But they got the money to fund this project, and they're at the groundbreaking. This multiplex is going to provide care for families. It's going to provide health care for people who don't have access to health care. It's going to provide a health club for people to invest and improve themselves instead of destructing and destroying themselves. It's going to provide safe daycare so that parents can go out and leave their children in a safe environment and go out and get gainful employment or education so that they can improve their life, decrease poverty, increase enterprise. Right? Let me ask you a question, or better yet, let me ask Teddy a question. Teddy, were you pretty excited about this project?
Very much so. I was deeply honored to be involved.
And I can't speak for you guys, but for those of you who know Teddy and Jim, seeing them around dirt, only thing I could possibly think of. My resume is on the front door. As excited, and see, I know this. I know how excited Teddy was. I know how excited Jim was, and remain. As excited as they were, who do you think was more excited? The people who worked on this project, or the people who are going to, at some point, come up on the slide? Never mind. We deleted a slide. This is a picture of the people who are going to benefit.
Modern technology.
Life will throw obstacles at you. That comes up later on in the call. But I believe in life, whatever we get excited about, we'll get excited about us. And there are two ways that I'm convinced we should live our lives. One is as though absolutely nothing is a miracle. Or the other way is that absolutely everything is a miracle. I may be a nut. This is where I'm at. So how do we make these seemingly miracles in our lives come to fruition? Well, I think goals. Because goals help us get excited about life. Goals help us determine the future of life, right? 5 years from now will arrive. We have a choice of either saying, I'm going to be a wandering generality, and 5 years comes around and we say, oh, dude, I guess this is okay. Ended up here. Or we can say, that's where 5 years is. And I'm here. And this is what I have to do to get to where I want to be in 5 years, and decide that now. That's what goals is. It creates magical things because it helps us determine the future in advance. Best analogy I have is how many people took an airplane to come to this meeting. Right? Most everyone. So this should make sense. When you go to the airport, you go in and you check in. And then you go through security and you get that free pat down, right? Some of you who enjoy it, Chuck. Right? You get up to your gate, and as you look at the gate, what does it say? So for most of us, maybe Oklahoma City, right? It says where you're going. You know that if you get on that plane, when it lands, you're going to end up in Oklahoma City. Pretty safe bet. What if you went through security, got the free pat down, and then you got up to your gate and it said, don't know. Don't know. You ask the pilot, where are you going? I don't know, dude. Come on. Right? I'll we spend more time planning a 1-week vacation than we do the other 51 weeks leading up to it. And if we spend time planning the 51 weeks, that'll change the destination spot, usually, of the vacation. So you may be saying, well, gee, Tom, that's great, but I'm not really sure, and I don't know a whole lot about goals. Well, for a library card, you can figure it out. Or you can do what my mother taught me at the age of 12. She taught me how to play the what-if game. And here's how the what-if game goes. I asked Mom, 12 years old, and I saw in a sporting goods store a new bike, Models. Anybody here ever hear of Models in New York? I don't know if they're still around.
Yes.
To Mom, any chance you can get me this bike? And she chuckled. She said, Tom, even if we could get you that bike, we couldn't, because you've got 5 siblings. And if we do it for you, we'd have to do it for everybody, and you know we can't afford that. So this is where I begin self-pity. Right? I'm like, oh, this stinks. And Mom says, why don't you play a game? Am I in the mood for games right now? No. She said, let's play a what-if game. And she said, what if you earned enough money to buy your own bike? 12 years old. What are you talking about? She said, do you cut our grass? I said, yes. She goes, how much does Dad pay you? I said, nothing. Sounds like some of the margins you guys are dealing with, right? She said, do you cut the Bonomo's grass? I said, yes. How much do you make? I said, $5. She said, do you cut the Giordano's grass? You figuring out I lived with a bunch of Italians, right? I said, yes, I do. How much do you make? $4.50. She goes, whose else grass do you cut? I said, nobody. She said, what if? At the age of 12, I started cutting more and more grass, and by the end of the summer, I was earning over $200 a week cutting grass, and my bike was cool as hell. The beginning of goal setting, okay? And then she pulled one I didn't like at all. She said, what if you got A's instead of B's? I said, well, you and Dad have always got to be cool with B's. She said, yeah, but what if you got A's? What kind of opportunities would that open for you? What kind of influences could that help you with? What kind of people might that introduce you to if you worked a little harder than you do? I said, is there anything else in this what-if game you want to play? And as I got older, we're going to take a break. As I got older, I asked myself, what if I invested more in myself this year in books, and blogs, and tapes, and yes, in prayer, than I did last year? Where would that take me? This is how you set goals. And then I'd ask myself, what if I became a student of my own possibilities? And I was really fortunate as a very young adult to have the opportunity to meet Dr. Robert Schuller. And he taught me about possibilities and possibility thinking. And he taught me that possibilities and opportunities were all around me. I just had to believe in it. And I had to look for them. And I'm here to tell you that they're all around you also. You just have to believe. And you just have to look for them. Last thing, if you want to build your energy, I think you have to read the signs correctly. What do I mean by that? Well, so many times in life, as we're going after something, we see obstacles. And instead of seeing obstacles for what they really are, right, which is God's jokes, take this one, Stritch, we see them as think about giving up and not persevering through. But I'm here to tell you that if we have the right energy and belief that when we see obstacles, we just need to keep going. And we will get through it. Because it's our attitude, it's our belief, and it's our energy that's going to take us through the obstacles in life to get us to where we really want to be. I love this quote. The longer I live, the more I am certain the great difference between the great and the insignificant is energy. Invincible determination. Now, why is that important? Is it important because Sir Thomas Buxton was a British politician? No. Social reformer? No. But he was a brewer. Right? How many people know brewers, right? Drinking beer all night long, thinking real philosophical stuff? I just figured it's got to be important. Cheers. All right. Next. If we're going to live a life of keeping the fork, which is where we expect and earn the right to expect that life will indeed get better, yes, we have to have energy. What else do we have to have? How about purposes? I think most people want purpose. Some people don't have it. I think oftentimes when people don't have it, it could be because they overcomplicate it. And they make it bigger than reality. I want to cure cancer. I want to make sure there's only world peace. That's great. But sometimes we need to bring it down a little closer to home. And when we do, and we look for our purpose, I think sometimes people look at it and it's so simple they think it might be boring. But I'm convinced if we're truly living our purpose, life is anything but boring. Do you know what your purpose is? Let's talk about a couple of examples. We have a gentleman in the room today, and I don't want to mention his name and embarrass him, because John Biggs would be all wigged out on me. But if you don't know John Biggs, you're going to know him tonight. Really special guy. His purpose is to bring light to people who don't have light. Now, it even gets more unique than that. He brings light to people who don't know what life is. We take that for granted, right? Jamie Crossan comes home late at night, hard delivery, no profit, comes into his house, his beautiful wife, Karen, he says, "Honey, it's dark, turn the light on." "What? Turn the light on." "What's that?" So I can see you." "Honey, the sun went down. You won't see me till tomorrow. Go to sleep." There are people in the world like that, are there not, John? John's purpose is to find a way to bring life to those people. And he will share with you this evening some of the tremendous benefits of that. For me, it's a little closer to home. My purpose is finding out how to create more value for you. Wake up every day and I ask myself, how do we create more value for our members, for our suppliers, for our rep partners? How do we at SEFA elevate what we're doing to create more value in our proposition for you? That's my purpose. That's what I'm living for. Tony Riggins. It might be about reaching level 7 before another girl does. Gotta have purpose. See, I'm here to tell you, I love this cartoon. Earth in between stuff, Dad, that's it? Really? Good, right? Like getting on that plane to nowhere, don't know. Don't let that be us. We have to figure out what our purpose is. Mom. What was Mom's purpose? My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I've learned to now rephrase that as a domestic engineer. Okay? Her purpose was to make sure that her 6 kids lived life to the fullest. That we had the values and the faith so that we could make a credible contribution in the world and enjoy what life had to offer. Now, she wasn't dealt an easy day. And I'm not just talking about being paralyzed. She had some tough kids. I don't know who this 8-year-old might be who decided at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday that it would be a good idea to grab his brother's trumpet, go on top of the garage roof, and play as loud as he possibly could. Life was not easy for months. So then it got better, because as this kid got older, this is his high school graduation. Yeah, I'm throwing it out there. And this is after she said, "You better get that haircut." So she didn't have it easy working on her purpose. But she had to work every day with kids that weren't easy to raise to make sure that we could live life to the fullest. So, question. How many people in the room today, by a show of hands, know of a stay-at-home mom or domestic engineer that truly made a positive difference in the world? Okay. Can you leave your hands up? Can somebody do me a favor in the back and just take a picture of this for me?
No, give me a second.
Anybody without deodorant is now about to recover.
Hurry up, Bill.
All right. You got it, Bill? Really? We're breaking her arm.
I got it.
All right, thank you. Mom, that's for you. I am convinced that purpose isn't about how far the reach is, it's about how deep the impact is. And as it pertains to selling, I have found that purpose conquers all fears. That rejection and obstacles become less significant. Missed sales no longer define us, and obstacles do not derail us if we are selling with purpose. Does it make sense that purpose might help us live a life that we can expect it to get better? Yes, sir. Right? So what's next? She said you got to be committed. You have to have persistence and determination. Here's a story that happened several decades ago. True story. It's a young couple, and the guy wanted to be a movie star. Problem was, he stunk. And no talent agency would pick him up. And he kept trying, and his wife would say to him, "Honey, why don't you do me and you a favor and go get a real job?" Right? Now, I don't know that he was necessarily in sales, but he did sell his car, he did sell his couch, he did sell his watch, and he even sold his dog for $25. Right? $25. Buy dog. Now, would you think if, and he wasn't in sales, would you think maybe he's going through some tough times? So they're sitting there one Friday evening, and they're watching the TV, black and white, strainy, and they're watching a boxing match. One of the boxers was a boxer by the name of Chuck Wepner.
Failed leader.
They may recognize the other name, was Muhammad Ali. And for 15 punishing rounds, Muhammad Ali was the champ, beat the living daylights out of Chuck Wepner. But this kid who was watching this was so impressed that Chuck Webner kept taking it. And he kept coming back, and he kept coming back, and he would not give up. He was so inspired by that, that when the fight was over, he spent the next 23 straight hours, again, true story, writing a screenplay. He took that screenplay to producers, and he tried to sell it. Nobody wanted it. It was too sappy, too predictable. He finally found one producer who said, you know what, might work, I'll pay $125,000 for it. And the kid said, pretty good, got a deal. One condition, I star in the movie. All bets are off. No, thank you. So he says, then pass. A couple of weeks later, the producer called back, says, I will double my offer and offer $250,000 for your screenplay. Great, I star in it. No, you're not ever going to star in anything. Well, then no deal. And he keeps going about trying to sell this screenplay, and nobody wants to eat popcorn. A couple of weeks later, the producer calls back and says, I will offer you $325,000 not to star in your own movie. Now, I don't know about you, this is like 40 years ago, okay? So, I don't know about you, but if I just sold my house, or not my house, my couch, my watch, my dog, somebody's offering me $325,000, I'm out. He says, no deal. Really? A month later, producer, frustrated, calls back, says, you know what, I really want to do this. If you're going to do it, I'll do it, but I'm only going to pay you $35,000. Guy says, you got to do it. You may recognize him.
Good.
Is that commitment? Is that sticking with it, right?
Yes.
That's persistence. Well, here's an interesting side note. I love side notes to stories like this. Was he gets his $35,000, and he got that up front. So he wanted his dog, Buster, back. So he goes to the liquor store where he sold the dog to some guy, waits, the guy shows up. And in true SEFA Pro negotiating style, he goes right to price, and he says, I will offer you 4 times what you paid for the dog. I want my dog back. I will give you $100. Guy says, no, I really like the dog. So I'll save you some time of the back and forth, but he ended up paying $15,000 for the dog. Now, I don't know, if people who know me know I would be one dog light. But I think that the difference between success and failure is commitment. It's persistence and determination. And I think Rocky is a great example that somebody's persistence and determination is more important many times than talent and education. We all know talented underperformers. The world is full of educated derelicts. But when you have commitment and persistence and perseverance, that's when you can go through life remembering that obstacles are just that. They're not stop signs. One other example that I'd like to share with you. Anybody know who this is? This is Chuck Day's high school picture, I think.
Yes.
This guy here owned a restaurant, modest restaurant. He was 60 years old when the state came in and said, we're going to put a highway through here, eminent domain. Know anything about that, Kevin? Right? State came in, we're taking your land, your restaurant's going to be bulldozed. He's like, you know what, I'm 60 years old. That's okay. So he went on Social Security, and he was living on $105 a month. Just real quick, how many people in here are under the age of 40? Raise your hand. Okay. That's $105 more than you will ever see from Social Security. Just saying. You might want to start planning it. So what he did was he remembered, okay, 5 years later, he's totally broke, he's got no money, and he's 65 years old. So he said, you know, I used to cook up some good stuff. So he went around to restaurants that were open and said, hey, this is what I make. What if you made it in your restaurant and you sold it and I took a profit? And people just laughed and said no. How many people said no? Over 1,000 people said no. In fact, it was 1,009 people said no interest before the first person said, you know what? I'll take your recipe. And they had a handshake deal, and anytime that recipe was sold, this guy got a cut. Recognize him? Right? Ended up dying multi-millionaire. But what's the deal? What was it? It was commitment. It was persistence, right? That's what we have to have if we're going to live a life that truly says we can earn the right to keep the food. So you have to have energy, right? You have to have a purpose. You have to have commitment. What else? Well, Mom said to me, Tommy, if you really want to live life where you're going to expect it to be positive and good, then you know what? You need to realize you can't go it alone. You have to surround yourself with people that you can count on. As I got older, I realized just how right she was. So I started researching. How do you get people around you that are like you, that would share your values and want to help you and that you want to help? I call it the law of association, right? And what I found was one of the most important tools was that we had to get real good at communication and building rapport with people. So we can find out what they're truly like. So question. Have you ever said to yourself, wow, that was an amazing conversation. That was just awesome. And I can remember myself thinking, wow, I'm really a great communicator. And then I stop and I think, wait a minute, what was it about that conversation that made me enjoy it? Many times you may think of a scenario where you left some type of social gathering and you met somebody and you're driving home saying, I really like that person. What was it about that that made you like the experience, like the conversation? So, in true Stritch form, I went out and started researching communication and rapport. And what I'm going to do is save you guys a ton of time and share with you 5 tips that I have learned, and it's taken me years to learn, that should you apply are highly effective tips for communication and rapport. This is not rocket science stuff. A lot of people don't think about it. Number 1 is you have to listen. So I think of a conversation as 2 people talking, right? At least that's what it is to me. But have you ever seen a scenario where 2 people are talking to each other at the same time? Was anybody in the marketing and training meeting this morning other than me that saw that happen, right? Especially on the phone. How many times have you been on the phone and you're talking and the other person starts talking, right? I know, and I will make a formal apology, Chris Perotti, because I'm on the phone with her all the time, and we do it all the time, right? But if we're truly going to have a conversation, and the apologies because I know I do it more than you, Chris. If we're truly going to have a conversation, then we have to realize just how important listening is. And I think God had something up his sleeve when he figured out, you know what, I'm going to give you 2 ears and 1 mouth, and maybe you should just consider using them in that proportion. And when you do, you realize that when you're listening, you're understanding what the other person is saying. And what does that tell you? A, it tells you, do you like what you hear? Do you want them around you? It tells you that you care enough about them to listen. What's the next step? If you want to build communication and rapport, later on this week, I have to tell you, I could not be more excited. We're going to have the Dale Carnegie organization here. And if you've ever read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I'll save you the trouble, the biggest thing I got was use people's names. People love to hear their names. Research has shown that somebody's name is literally the sweetest sound and most important sound that they can hear in any language. Right, Hunter?
Yes, Tom.
Ah! Now, number 3, and this is worth the price of admission. Let others talk about themselves. Whether we want to admit it or not, people like to talk about themselves. In fact, Dr. Loretta Melandro has a PhD in communication from Florida State University. She said that people would rather talk about themselves than the 10 most important people in the world. If you don't think that's true, how many of you were out in the foyer before we came in? You've flown in, you haven't seen somebody in a long time. Were you talking about one of the 10 most important people in the world, or were you talking about yourselves? Right? But if Dr. Melandro is not enough, then let's go. I can't make this stuff up. Harvard University neuroscientist. Can't even spell that. Okay? These are, say that 3 times fast. Harvard University neuroscientist. You can't. These people are smart. Okay? This is what they say. That someone talking about themselves is so rewarding that it stimulates the feeling of food. Oh my God, how good does that look? Especially if you haven't eaten it, right? Oh my God, who would like that? And shaking their head. Oh my God, yeah, I'm all over it. Somebody talking about themselves is so rewarding that it stimulates the feeling that we get from money. I don't care how much money you have if you're Daddy Warbucks. Doesn't that look good right now? Right? Wouldn't that be a good feeling to be walking out of this meeting with that? Harvard University neuroscientists, they say that if you let somebody talk about themselves, it's so rewarding that it stimulates the feeling that we get from sex. Don't be quiet, I can't make this up. This is not me, it's Harvard University. So, I don't know about you guys, but when I come home from a long trip, I let my wife talk about herself as long as she wants. We better move on. The resumes are over here. I get paid for this. Alright, next. If you want to build communication and rapport, you have to go out of your way to help others feel important. Amanda Gore, I love her, she says, you know what? We should imagine that everybody we meet has an imaginary sign around their neck that says, make me feel important. And I try to teach my kids to see that sign and then do it. What would the world be like if all of us on this planet actually looked for that sign, saw it, and then did it? Do you think the local news might be different? Would the world news be different? I think it would be. So we've got to go out of our way to help people feel important. How do you do that? Give honest compliments. We're not talking about brown nosing here. We're talking about honest compliments. Studies show that nothing makes a woman or a man feel better than an honest compliment. Sincerely ask somebody's advice. And why would you do that? If you ask somebody's advice and it stinks, it's probably a good clue you don't want them in your law of association. But if you ask somebody's advice and it's pretty good, maybe you want to do it again. It also helps them feel important about them, that you cared enough to ask. It's so important. Last piece. Emphasize the similarities. Again, whether we want to admit it or not or acknowledge it, we like people who are like us. So how do you do that? Simply work to drive conversation towards interests that are common. And then again, you're going to find out, A, you like the person or you don't. The interests are common or you're not. Because what are we doing? We're trying to understand that in living a life where we expect life to get better, that the best is yet to come, we can't go it alone. We want to surround ourselves with the right people. So drive conversation towards a common interest and build that rapport. Next is repeat things that they said. Why? If somebody says something and you care enough to say, hold on, Huff, if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is this. Is he going to appreciate the fact that I care enough to make sure I'm getting it right? Yes. Right? And if I find out what you're really saying is that your idea of a work day is from 10 until 2, maybe that's not the work ethic that I'm looking to associate with. Right? So it's going to help you build them up as well as tell you, is this somebody that you want in your circle? Recap, people like people who are similar to them. People like people who let them talk about themselves. I know you're going to remember that. And people like people who pay them compliments. Here is the price of admission right here. If you can remember this. People are impressed with people who are impressed with them. And I'm convinced that the people we come in contact with in our life are like buttons on an elevator. They're going to take us up or they're going to take us down. And if we have the right skills in communication and rapport, we can find out. Next piece. This is so important. If we want to have this life where we expect things to get better all the time, would you think maybe we should have some balance in life? Right? That's hard to imagine sometimes as we go through a challenging economy and we're all working, doing more for less. But I think life throws so many street signs at us. And we have to decide, what do we want in our life? And if we're not careful, I think a lot of people want balance, but like myself included, don't always have it. And it's because we get to running so hard and so fast that we forget some of the things that are important. We do the things that we think, oh yeah, got to do this. But what about the rest of it? So what I have done for you as your gift from me is I have put together a template for you on balance. This is a template that I use. Your template may be different, but the template, I promise you, works. Here's my template. These are some of the areas of my life that are very important to me. You'll notice the face in the middle. That's because Teddy says I have a face for radio, so I left it on. But these are the things that are important to me. So let's break them down. Since my boss is in the room, let's go with, I want to work. I want to do a great job at work. Right? I want to make sure that what I'm doing, what I'm spending my working time on, is creating value for the marketplace, for the industry. I want to make sure that what I'm doing every day not only is effective for me and the organization that I work with, but it's helping to supply tools and services to help you be more effective. That's so important to me. For those of you who know me, feeding my mind is very important to me. I have to take time to do this. It's so easy to take the mental candy route of watching a reality TV show or reading the newspaper. We take time to put gas in our cars, food in our bodies, but so many times we don't put nutrients into our mind. We have to make sure that we take time in this section of our life to put positives into our mind. Family. For those of you who do know me, some of you know me through Facebook. You know how important my family is to me. And what I have found is I have to spend time with my wife, Carrie, my best friend on the planet. I have to spend time with her alone, without the kids, in order to become a better dad. We'll be out to dinner, out on what we call date night. It's like, oh, we feel guilty. We could have brought the kids here. But then we wouldn't be talking to each other. We'd be listening to my daughter. Right? I'm a better dad if I get quality one-on-one time with my wife. It's the same thing with my kids. I have to spend time with my kids without my wife. Why? Because she's pathetically good at being a mom. Right? I hate that. So if she's there, I get no attention, no time. So I've got to make sure that I have time with just my kids without mom. And when I do that, I find it helps me become a better husband. And I also have to have time with just me. And I'm not talking about sitting on an airplane by myself with somebody who wants to yap the whole time, right? No, I'm talking about what I call me time. That's time where it's just me, where I do what I want to do. Whether it be going deep into a book or an activity that I want, or just time to meditate, I have to have time for just me. And when I do that, I find that I'm a better dad, I'm a better husband, and I'm a better contributor to my organization. I'd like to introduce you to my gang. This is my gang. Essentially, I have either married or helped create most everybody on that slide. Think about that. This is my son, Jake. That work? That's Jake. He's going to med school right now at the University of Florida. This is my daughter, Allie. That pretty much says her personality. She's amazing, right? Running varsity cross country in 8th grade. So proud of her. This is my son, Michael. Michael just got elected to the president of the National Honor Society as a senior. I'm so proud of the discipline that he puts into his academics. This is my awesome wife, Carrie. She's a kindergarten teacher. I have so much respect for her because she's affecting the minds of our future leaders. And I tell her every day, please do better than the kindergarten teachers of the current politicians. This is my son, Ben. Couldn't be more proud of him. He's out of college, he's married, 2 kids, gainfully employed, has the American dream, owns his own home. He's an amazing father, he's an amazing husband. This is my daughter-in-law, Lindsay. She's awesome. She's a great mom, a tremendous wife, a wonderful daughter-in-law. She's also a successful entrepreneur, owns her own business, and contributes to society, adding jobs. We like that. This is my granddaughter, Zoe. 6 years old, uses my attitude stuff against me. This is my grandson, Kale. I don't know what to tell you. He's 2 years old. He really hasn't done anything. So, epic letdown. Is family important, yes or no?
Yes.
So, little sidebar on family here. Zinni, you may want to hold that laugh for just a minute. Father's Day was back in June, right? Anybody remember what they were doing on Father's Day? Some of you? I remember what I was doing. Father's Day is an important day for Tom because I believe in being grateful. I have gratitude lists all the time. And when I realized what I am blessed with in life, and Father's Day is one of those times where it's just smacking me in the face. I am so lucky to have a wife who loves me, to have kids who are awesome and they're healthy, and I get excited about it. So it's 3:30 in the morning on Father's Day morning. Carrie doesn't want to hear how excited I am. So I get up and I go out into the family room. And I don't want to turn on any of my books on tape, because I don't want to wake anybody up. I don't want to put any television on, and I certainly don't want to put on any music. I didn't think it was the right time for AC/DC. Right? So I thought to myself, what would Matt Kernick want me to do? He'd want me to go on Facebook. So there I was. By this time it's like 3:45 in the morning. You're going to see I didn't make this up. And, everybody's sending, happy Father's Day Facebook notes to their dad. I'm looking for mine. Not there. And I see this one particular post of a kid sending a card, kind of like through Facebook, to his dad. And I had to take my glasses off because it had tear spots on my glasses because I was laughing so hard. And I thought, this is one of the best Facebook posts I've ever seen. And I said to myself, I don't know when. One day, I'm going to be able to use this post. Guess what day today is? Because the gentleman who made this post and the father who received this post, are we nervous yet, Troy? Are in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, Father's Day post. Father's Day, Dad. My wife is hurling morning sickness. Troy and Michael, would you stand up? How about a hand? Congratulations, guys. And Michael, I have to tell you, thank you. This is not the last time I'm going to use that. But more importantly, congratulations on starting a family. It's an amazing thing. And I promise you that the best is indeed yet to come for you, young man. All right, what's next? For me, am I spending enough time in the Word? Am I spending enough time in prayer? Am I spending enough time just doing the right thing? Earlier, we talked about giving back. We said, you know what, it doesn't always have to be money. How many times can you get up in the middle of the night when it's freezing cold and go to a food bank and sort food and hand it out at 6 o'clock in the morning to people who have been waiting would you use to pay for? And when you're handing out food to someone who doesn't know it as we do, and you watch a child as they take a bite of something warm for potentially the first time in months, I'm telling you, that's an amazing feeling. Random acts of kindness. Open the door for somebody, right? Take an elderly neighbor grocery shopping. If you're in Mount Vernon, Washington, Dave Becker would love to have you take him shopping. Do nice things. Social. Simply put, am I having fun outside of work? I do have to be honest here. I need no help here. This is a skill set that is really good for me, right? But we do have to have fun outside of work that are non-work related. This is me and my wife at our annual Halloween party. Just having a blast. We invite the entire neighborhood. Doesn't matter whether you're 3 years old or 93, everybody comes, it's a blast. It's just a good time. Are you having fun? We have to do that in life if we're going to remain balanced. Last, not least, am I building a nest egg? Right? This is something I have to ask myself. My dad used to say, Tom, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. I said, well, Dad, I don't make enough money. He said, no, you spend too much. So I have to ask myself, am I saving for retirement? Is that pretty important to all of us? Right? You know, people used to want to retire at 60, and then it was 62. Now people talk about 65. You hear some people say, you know what? My 401k went down to a 201k, now it's a 301k, and I'm going to have to work till I'm 70. Well, if you're someone who's sitting in this room who's saying to yourself, you have to work till you're 70, let me tell you why you need to get over it. You need to get over it because you're not Chris Perotti or Tom Stritch. You see, we went to work for Teddy Reed. And Teddy Reed said, when you come to SEFA, it's like Hotel California. You can come, but you can never leave. You see, these are some of the faces of SEFA as you know it. What you need to understand is what we look like when Teddy said we can retire. I'll take 70 all day long. Resumes. I'm convinced that all these areas fuel one another. And if we let one slide, somewhere along the line it's going to bite us. And I think you can see, I hope you can see, this is mine. I'm not saying this has to be yours. But I think you can see very quickly you can make yours your own. So my suggestion to you is to try this. Make your own template, and then do this. Set one goal in each area, and you will be amazed how much better your life will be. You've got 2 or 3 areas right now that you know are slam dunks, right? But there's probably a couple of areas in your life that you're thinking, God, you know what? I should focus more there. And I don't because I'm running 90 miles an hour. Well, if we take the time to put it on paper, you'll focus on what you want to focus on. And I promise you, more good things will happen for you. I didn't know where to put this in the presentation, so I'm just calling it generic momisms. Mom used to say, you know what? It's impossible to say something you'll regret when you're taking a deep breath. She took a while to convince me of this, but nobody ever made a friend, right, by winning an argument. There's 2 perfect times to make eye contact. When you say, I'm sorry, and when you say, I'm wrong. And she used to say, never have so much pride that you cannot do that. She used to say, it's amazing what you'll accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. And I can remember this like it was yesterday, and Lord knows it wasn't, but I was in 10th grade, and we were around the dinner table, and it was me and 4 of my buddies from school working on a science project. And Mom came over, and she said, you guys are arguing about who's going to get the credit. Well, yeah, I did this, and I did that. And she said, if you stop arguing about who's going to get the credit and just do the project and work as a team, you'll all get better credit. I didn't get it that night, but I have gotten it since. And isn't that true of all of us at any age? Accountability is doing what you said you would do, and here's the key, admitting it when you don't. And then the next one is my favorite. And it's my favorite because we had 6 kids, well, still do, and we had 3 boys, 3 girls. And my sisters are so nice, it's almost pathetic, okay? And the brothers were pretty darn sarcastic. In fact, I have one brother who's not allowed to meet Teddy. Ever. Ever. That's you, John, if you ever watch this. So, my mom was not sarcastic. She got a little bit later on in life. But early on, she was not sarcastic. And she used to say this one with a little chuckle in her breath. She used to say, Tommy, be kind to unkind people. It gets to them. Classic. Classic. Scrap. Time. How important is time? Different question. What is life? And you're thinking, oh, he's going to get real philosophical here. I don't think so. Not sharp enough for that. I think life is time. And what I'm going to do is ask you to realize that the time we have in our life is precious. Don't waste it. And that said, speaking of time, I'm going to ask for literally 2 minutes and 20 seconds of yours. There's a video. I'm going to play it for you. Please pay close attention.
Imagine there is a bank that credits your account each morning with $86,400. It carries over no balance from day to day, and every evening it deletes whatever part of the balance you failed to use during that day. What would you do? Draw out every cent. Each one of us has such a bank. It's called time. Every morning it credits you with 86,400 seconds. And every night it writes off as lost whatever you have failed to invest wisely. It carries over no balance. It allows no overdraft. Each day it opens a new account for you. If you fail to use the day's deposit, the loss is yours. There is no going back. There is no drawing against the tomorrow. You must live in the present on today's deposit, invested in every opportunity. The clock is running. You've got to make the most of today, right here, right now.
Right now, right here, 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 right now, right here,
To realize the value of 1 year, ask a student who failed a grade. To realize the value of 1 month, ask a mother who gave birth to a premature baby. To realize the value of 1 week, ask the editor of a weekly newspaper. To realize the value of 1 hour, ask a person who just missed a train. To realize the value of 1 second, ask a person who narrowly avoided an accident. To realize the value of 1 millisecond, ask the person who took the silver medal at the Olympics. Time waits for no one. Follow up every lead. Make every second count. Always be closing. Every opportunity missed equals money lost. Remember, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present.
Cool, wasn't it? We have 86,000 seconds, 1,440 minutes, and 24 hours in a day. We can't allow ourselves to just waste it. I am convinced that we are living here on God's bus. It is moving. You can get on. You can get off. But you can't drive. He's going to keep it moving. And I did say he. Second. The choice is ours as to how much of this experience that we call life we want to take advantage of. And the more we take advantage of, the more opportunity we have for success in our lives. It was Donald Kendall, this guy founded PepsiCo. And I love one of the things that he said because it says so much. He said success doesn't come between the hours of 9 and 5. Success comes between the hours of 6 a.m. and midnight. And when the love of what you're doing outweighs the fatigue of doing it. Doesn't that say it all? Doesn't that say energy, purpose, commitment, drive, everything? Last thing on time. Get up early. You can sleep when you're dead. Okay? I'm here to tell you how many times we wake up late. It just wreaks havoc on your day. You wake up late and your deodorant that's supposed to work for 12 hours is gone an hour and 30 minutes into your day. Right? Because you're running late out the door hoping you don't spill coffee on yourself because it's moving. Right? You get to work, you're behind the 8 ball, you got a meeting right away, and you walk in and everybody else is all sitting there. They have everything out and ready to go, and you say, oh, I'll get ready. It's tough to recover from that. We have to get up early to take advantage of our day. I think our time is like wine. Now, if you come to the Stritch House, open invitation, there is always wine at the Stritch House. Let me tell you what type of wine is at the Stritch House. Barely average. Barely average. However, we keep a couple of nice bottles on hand for really special occasions. And true story, this is about a month ago. We had a bottle, and it was a 1999 Opus 1. Anybody know if that's good wine or not? Okay, a bunch of heads going, oh yeah. We were saving this wine, Carrie and I. It didn't even cut the mustard for a college graduation that was paid for, right? Didn't open it. But we've been working on something in our lives for a number of years now. And it came to fruition for us recently, and I said, this is it. She said, this is it. We go to open the wine, the cork's bad. The wine was some of the best wine you could have. But we didn't drink it in time. It went bad. It's the same with the time that we're allotted in each of our days. If we don't use it in time, it goes away. And I'm just here to encourage you to not waste it. Mom. So Mom was in the hospital, and I was there. siblings with me. And I was by the side of the bed, and I grabbed my mom's fragile hand. And I looked into her eyes, I leaned over and I said, Mom, you know what's going on here? She said, yeah. I said, are you okay with this? She said, Tommy, I'm excited. I said, you're excited? She said, I'm going to dance with your father. 2 arms and 2 legs for the first time in 43 years. She said, we're going to do the Tennessee Waltz. She said, I'm going to see our divine maker in all of his glory, ways we can't even imagine. She said, yeah, Tom, I'm excited. She goes, I know that we both said it, the best is yet to come. And I said, you keep the fork, Mom. She said, you too. She said, Tommy, the best is in front of you. I said, I know, Mom. As we leave here and we start this awesome conference, I hope you will keep the fork, like my mom has taught me. And I'll leave you with a few challenges that I think she'd approve of. I hope you'll stay excited and realize that life is precious. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is the present. It's a gift, and I hope you'll enjoy yours. Find your purpose. Don't be this guy, right? I don't know what to do. Too late. Be persistent. Never, ever, ever give up. Keep your balance. In part, because if you don't keep your balance, it will bite you. But more importantly, if you do keep your balance, you'll get so much more joy out of life in areas that we don't make a point to focus on. Treat your time like money. It's more important. And most importantly, I wish for all of you that you can experience life in a way that the best is indeed yet to come. Keep the fork. Thank you, everybody.